The Center for American Studies at Concord. We, the People, for President. The Citizens Movement to revive the spirit of public service. If we, the people, should indeed prove an entity, a corporate being, imagine what power that might one day represent. By Catherine Drinker Bowen, The Miracle of Philadelphia. We, the People, for President. Constitutional President. The Citizens Movement to revive the spirit of public service. Preamble to the United States Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity,
do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The cause of America is in great measure the cause of mankind. Citizen Thomas Paine, Common Sense, 1776. Let me now take a more comprehensive view and warn you in the most solemn manner against the baneful effects of the spirit of party. Farewell address of our first president, George Washington, the father of our nation, September 19th, 1796. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. Abraham Lincoln, Gettysburg Address. If we, the people, should indeed prove an entity, a corporate being, imagine what power that incorporation might someday represent. Catherine Draker Bowen, The Miracle of Philadelphia. Opening word. I have never seen more senators express discontent with their jobs. I think the major cause is that deep down in our hearts, we have become accomplices in doing something terrible and unforgivable to our wonderful country. Deep down in our hearts, we know that we have given our children a legacy of bankruptcy. We have defrauded our country to get ourselves elected. Senator John Danforth, Republican, Missouri. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Buckminster Fuller. We, the people, for constitutional president and all constitutional offices, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service. Following the footsteps of our walking, as opposed to running, mates, Phyllis Wheatley, George Washington, old Ben Franklin, and Father Abraham Lincoln. To whom it may concern, a future worth envisioning for our children, grandchildren, and the nations to come. All our relations. To be clear, crystal clear at the outset, we the people for constitutional president and for all other constitutional offices, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service is not about unconstitutionally governing, about serving a narrow partisan constituency, one's fellow Democrats, Republicans, or more precisely, the party bosses, first and foremost, who, with rare and significant exceptions, serve the moneyed interests. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the real truth of the matter is, as you and I know, that a financial in the large centers has owned the government ever since the days of Andrew Jackson. Is not about ordering others around, executive or otherwise, not about calling shots, pushing any agenda, promoting any interest apart from the interest of we, the people, as a whole, at large, in our fullness. Rather, the citizens' movement is about serving, service, about reviving the spirit of public service. We, the people, are committed to safeguarding the people's unalienable constitutional rights and, rightly understood, our responsibilities, that which gives our rights their ultimate right and purpose. As such, we, the people, are not against anyone or anything. That is, we are not running against any issue or candidate. We are not opposed to anyone, including the respectable scoundrels, in Lincoln's words, with malice towards none, with charity for all. God bless them, the scoundrels, keep them, and let his light shine down upon them. Simply expressed, every fellow citizen is an honorary member of the citizens movement to revive the spirit of public service, whether they like it, approve of such a movement, or not. For we, the people, are in together for better and for worse until death do us part. In the words of the signers of our Declaration of Independence, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. With the respect before us, we, the people, are not running at all, be it running, race, or campaign, politics as usual. Rather, we are walking the talk of public service in celebration. The celebration is just that, a celebration. And the people, we are the celebrants. As such, we, the people, seek no funds. Rather, we are committed to supporting the work, labors of love of our fellow citizens of all current parties and perspectives, viewpoints. The more, the merrier. Richer is the picture when those viewpoints are represented and offered with goodwill. We, the people, seek no publicity. Rather, we will assume the constitutional office mantle that we seek as note placeholders, standard bearers, and we will serve. If this is clear, we will let such service labors speak for themselves. In the words of Dr. King noted, everyone can be great because everyone can serve. That said, our focus is not on greatness, but on goodness, the good from sea to shining sea. We, the people, will hold no rallies, give no speeches. Rather, the people, we, will celebrate, and listen to our fellow citizens. Listen to what moves in their hearts. That promise that yearns to awaken in our fellow Americans. Awaken and remind us who the people we are, what our calling is. We, the people, will form no party to issue marching orders to the party regulars. Rather, if we are on our toes and do not forget who the people we are, the winds of freedom, liberty, of Columbia herself will blow through our spirited ranks and bless our celebration. Nor will we, the people, allow ourselves to be distracted by the issues, the legion of issues that divide and would conquer us, the U.S. That is, we will not allow ourselves to get entangled in politics as usual. Rather, our celebration focuses on the deeper underlying issue that waits to unite us, the people we. As such, the celebration's aim is a singular one, to revive the spirit of public service. Finally, the campaign celebration is most simple and straightforward, a two-step walk or dance. Number one, we, the people, will hold a memorial service at our state capitals. The aim of the memorial service is to put out of its misery that baneful, exceedingly harmful, and destructive partisan spirit, the spirit of party. Noted that Washington, our first president, and father of our nation, solemnly warned us about over 2 centuries ago in his farewell address, that baneful partisan spirit that Senator Danforth had the courage to acknowledge in our time. The purpose of the service is to put that divisive partisan spirit out of its misery, lay it to rest, pay it our respects, give it its last rites. Following the memorial service, we the people will proclaim victory, the supreme being, God willing. We will proclaim victory on behalf of we the people, the citizens movement to revive the spirit of public service. That victory is summed up in the words or slogan, "The party is over. The citizens movement has begun." The victory spoken of is heralded in the opening words of our United States Constitution. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, that victory that we speak of is the victory that is granted us, the U.S., eternally, when we, the people, or when the people we, remember who we are, remember what our calling is, our inalienable calling from sea to shining sea. And when we take up our mantles, serve our fellow citizens, not the party bosses, not the money interests, with all respects due, but as stated, the people as a whole at large in our fullness. The victory spoken of is granted us when, born on this all-American revelation, we the people come to our senses. That victory is granted us, friends, assured when the people, we, arise, step forward, and take up the banner of the sacred seal of our land, e pluribus unum, out of many, one, a truly united states. Once we thus awaken as Americans from and to our dream, our true dream, we cannot lose, regardless of the ballots cast, the final count. We can't lose, if that is, we give it our best, offer up our own last full measure of devotion. For we, the people, are the ones we've been waiting for. For together we will give voice to the promise invoked in Lincoln's words, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. That is, when the people lead, the leaders, public servants, our servants, will follow. Many will do so, follow our lead, despite themselves, some with relief, others bemused or incredulous, still others kicking and screaming until they come to their senses. At long last, remember who they no less are. Along with Washington and Lincoln, two of the principal standard bearers, and walking as opposed to running mates, two kindred spirits who are leading our way are, as noted, Sister Phyllis Wheatley and old Ben Franklin, whose great and extensive project envisioned a united party of virtue, a veritable movement. We tip our caps to them, unite our arms, hearts, and minds. This revival, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service, requires, in our eyes, that we, the people, reunite on these shores with the vision not only of our founding fathers and mothers, but of our original forgotten founders, including the peacemaker, the father of the Iroquois Confederation. The peacemaker established on this land, Turtle Island, the three twin principles of the Iroquois Federation, noted in the following. At the seminal Albany Congress of 1754, these three twin principles were conveyed to Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Franklin, to our founders, who were seeking to unite the distinct and disparate colonies to confederate. Those three twin principles were conveyed by the subsequent chiefs of the Iroquois Confederation. And much of the Iroquois Chiefs' Council was taken up. Many invaluable insights with respect to the challenges of confederation that was facing the colonies. The exception to such recognized council was a central role that women had to play in the confederation of a truly peaceful nation. Those three twin principles, that Aboriginal Trinity, inform, we suggest, any and all social initiatives that are truly healthy and productive, committed to healing and renewal. As such, they have inspired, if unbeknownst, all other movements that strive for balance on these shores, including Eisenhower's Middle Way program, Rotary, the 12-Step Fellowships, the Masons, Boy and Girl Scouts, the 4-H clubs, for starters. The point? Einstein noted that we cannot solve a problem with the same thinking that created that problem in the first place. And the father of modern science went on to add that to try to do something is insanity itself. Politics as usual. We trust that we can do better. We, the people, the citizens movement, to revive the spirit of public service. A new candidate spirit has entered the realm. In the aftermath of the 2016 Iowa caucus, and on the eve of New Hampshire's first in the nation primary, a new candidate spirit entered into the presidential race, the realm of public service. We, the people. Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump set things in motion. With Hillary Clinton assuming her party's mantle, the movement We, the People, would serve to ensure that emotion does not further widen the chasm that divides our aspiring United States. That chasm widens with our gaping misunderstanding of our political system. That is, note, ours is not simply a democracy or a republic. Rather, it is a democratic republic, as in Republicans and Democrats, woven and working together. Indeed, may the promise of We the People remind us of what must unite our nation if we are not only to have, but to create together a future worth envisioning for our children, grandchildren, and for the generations to come. All our relations. The citizens' movements takes up the opening words of George Washington, the father of our nation. The party is over, all but over, on its last legs, and the citizens' movement has begun. Indeed, independent voters all but outnumber Republicans and Democrats together. And yet, is independence as such the way forward? Where does it lead truly, if not to interdependence? Are we not all in the old boat together? If so, not only does the rising tide lift all the boats, but apart from a momentarily safe harbor, is the opposite not only the case? When the tide sinks, it's but a matter of time before we all go down together. Those who can imagine this truth are invited to take up the battle of peace, of place holder and standard bearer for We the People for office. Be your aspiration presidential or otherwise, whatever the office is, you would indeed assume. That is, you are invited to join the blessed ranks of fellow citizens, swelling with each passing days, to join us in the walk movement to revive the spirit of public service. as placeholder and standard bearer on behalf of we, the people. Such a walk, celebration, such a calling asks of you, fellow citizens, nothing other than what you are already doing. It asks of you nothing more and nothing less. May this point, these words, be clear. Nothing at all. Rather, what we, the people, ask, what we invite you to consider, is to do what you are already doing differently, particularly if it has to do with politics as usual. That is, you are invited to carry on your existing labors with a heightened consciousness of our calling as the people, we. That calling gives voice to our inalienable role as what some refer to as the fourth and critical check and balance in our participatory democracy, our democratic republic. For partisan politics waits, as stated, to be laid to rest, given its last rites, put out of its mounting misery, if the promise of our land, our ever new world, out of many one, is not to be rendered a farce, an ignoble epithet, the final unrequited word. For defeated we, the people, are, have always been, and will always be, when the people, we, forget that we are on the same side. Father Abraham Lincoln gave further voice to this undying promise in his second inaugural address. With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are still in, to bind up the nation's wounds. May we, the people, take Father Abraham's words to heart. Historical note: this celebration, We the People, for President, takes up the torch of Ben Franklin's great and extensive project, his United Party of Virtue, as noted, a veritable movement. In old Ben's words, May 19th, 1731, that the great affairs of the world, the wars, revolutions, etc., are carried on and affected by parties, that the view of these parties is their present general interest, or what they take to be such, that the different views of these different parties occasion all confusion, that while a party is carrying on a general design, each man has his particular private interest in view. As soon as a party has gained its general point, each member becomes intent upon his particular interest, which, thwarting others, breaks that party into divisions and occasions more division. That few in public affairs act from a mere view of the good of their country, whatever they may pretend. And though their actings may bring real good to their country, yet men primarily consider that their own and their country's interests was necessarily united, and thus did not act from a principle of benevolence. That fewer still in public affairs act with a view to the good of mankind. There seems to me at present to be great occasion for raising a united party for virtue by performing the virtuous and good men and women of all nations into a regular body, to be governed by a suitable good and wise rules, which good and wise men, all of us at our best, may probably be more unanimous in their obedience to than common people, all of us at our less than best, are to common laws. I at present think that whoever attempts this aright and is well qualified cannot fail of pleasing God and of meeting with success. Benjamin Franklin. We the People for President, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently or otherwise opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident, common sense. Arthur Schopenhauer. Distinguishing features. Along with Ben's words, the following planks uphold and distinguish the celebration. Number 1, the recognition that the citizens' movement's commitment is to public service, not to politics as usual, partisan politics, the same old story, the baneful, that is, exceedingly harmful or destructive, effects of the spirit of party. For such polarities, dualities, Republican/Democrat, are reactive reactions that lead to mudslinging, the casting of one's parties or candidates' own shadow upon the other. That is, with a few and noteworthy exceptions, partisan politics brings out the worst in us, the U.S. Or in our saner moments, who hasn't advised those who have sought your counsel not to forget, but rather to remember? Remember that there are always at least 2 sides to every issue. That is, it is important to get all the facts, that one must strive to have the full picture. Partisan politics is all too seldom active, truly active, thoughtful, and enlightened. For such, politics as usual is most reactionary. Number 2, the recognition that we, the people, have already won, can't possibly lose such a celebration. Once, that is, we, the people, take the first step on this celebration trail, the walk for office. For the trail's end is not to win. Rather, the goal is to serve, service, public service. The purpose is to do what we, the people, can, are called to do on behalf of those who count on us to step up forward, our children, grandchildren, and the generations to come. Number 3, the recognition of the inevitability of such a citizens' movement. As Franklin went on to say, we shall hang in there together, or we shall hang separately. That is, we, the people, are defeated when we forget that we are on the same side, the side of humanity, of humankind. Independent spirits, candidates whose ambitions, might one say, have caused them to lose sight of this longer-term reality necessity, are free, one hopes, to continue to imagine that they can bring forth reforms from within the system, and they will continue to discover, we suggest, that such reform is fleeting, short-term at best. Once again, but Mr. Fuller gave voice to this truth in his words. You never change things by fighting the reality. To change, build a new model makes the existing model obsolete. Ralph Waldo Emerson put it more succinctly still. Build a better mousetrap and the world will be a path to your door. In the appointed time, for are we not some matters held in hands larger than our own? Our founding fathers and mothers recognized that. However, we imagine him, her, it, a greater power governs in the affairs of men and women, a power that is greater than, and yet no less a part of, our very self. With respect to this third point, the point is that the means are the ends in process. That is, every step we take along the way path celebration trail determines whether we are headed in the direction we have set out upon, set our sights on, or not. In the heat of the race, it is all too easy to lose our breath, orientation amidst the bustle, political jostle, the maddening crowd. Number 4, the focus on the issue, the deeper underlying issue that would unite us, we, the people, as opposed to the legion of issues, healthcare, the environment, abortion, women's rights, men's rights, student loans, monetary policy, you name it, the issues that otherwise divide and conquer us, the people, we. Number 5, the issue is introduced with a new and sane kind of thinking that Einstein referred to. For those, that is, who are indeed serious about solving the problems, addressing the challenges, realizing the opportunities that face us if we are not them. The new kind of thinking calls upon the forces of illumined hearts and the devotion of a consecrated will. As such, the thinking can be referred to as an enlightened common sense. This emerging discipline carries the striving for understanding, scientia, science, beyond the physical, natural, social, and cognitive sciences, increasingly brain-bound and reductionistic, onto a science of the spirit, the enlightened common sense referred to. Ben Franklin was one of the pioneers of such a fully realized science, specifically in its articulation of and work with the virtues. The Democratic National Committee's interest in the work of George Lakoff speaks to the contribution of the cognitive science to politics, specifically their desire to understand the minds and cognitive patterns of the voters so that they can be better approached, attracted to the Democratic Party ranks. With respect to the further frontier of the spiritual sciences, one example, both simple and significant, is the realization that the root cause of these issues that lie nearest to our hearts, war, poverty, environmental degradation, healthcare, unemployment, can be traced back to the imposition of one sphere or sector, society, economic, political, cultural, on the other. Campaign finance reform is a well-recognized case in point with respect to such imposition, as businessmen and women, representatives of the economic sphere, increasingly buy up politicians, the political sphere. In recognition of the centrality of this threefold reality, calling forth the fourth balancing element was given voice by Eisenhower in his Middle Way program, and lies, as noted, at the heart of our most all-American of institutions, including Rotary, the Masons, the Boy and Girl Scouts, and the 4-H clubs heads, the cultural sphere section, hearts, the political sphere sector, hands, the economic sphere sector, balanced working together, equals health, health in the individual, body individual, and health in society, the body social. So much for an introduction to the citizens movement. A heartfelt welcome to join us, we the people, in our commitment to reviving the spirit of public service. On behalf of our children and the students to come, all our relations. Stuart Sinclair Weeks, founder, the Center for American Studies, Concord, Massachusetts. Kenna Sahun Deer, Faith Keeper, Kanawaki, Mohawk Territory, Turtle Island. Wilhelmina Howard Harris, co-founder, I Am Ministries, Montgomery, Alabama. Dave Stevens, retired engineer, engaged theologian, citizen, Concord, Massachusetts. Richard Kotlars, founder, the Institute for the Redemption of Money, Minnesota. Judge James Leeper, daughter Brenda, and son James Jr., Charleston, South Carolina. Sinclair and Mary Weeks, retired businessman and mother, Concord, Massachusetts. Julie Moran, founder, North Country Farmers Co-op, Holbrook, New Hampshire. Vestine Nairanwagbi, refugee and mother, Rwanda / Concord, New Hampshire. Kelly Kessler Smith, president, Yes Ventures Incorporated, Los Angeles, California. John Underwood, businessman, founder, Cloud Play, Portland, Oregon. Richard Wheeler, retired banker and selectman, Concord, Massachusetts. Robert Johnson, 90-year-old businessman, Lancaster, New Hampshire. Susan Martlock, healthcare entrepreneur, Gorham, New Hampshire. Lou Niles, president, Niles International, Whitefield, New Hampshire. Sherry Noble, Esquire, Noble Group International, Boston, Massachusetts. Brian Lynch, founder, Sirius Research, L&J, Georgia. John Amaral, president, Omni Properties, Concord, Massachusetts. Elaine Kane, mother, grandmother, Brainerd, Minnesota. Irene Lambert, health practitioner, Littleton, New Hampshire. Alan Rosato, retired builder, Groveton, New Hampshire. Howie Coleman, public servant, Charleston, South Carolina. Bill Rennick, former state representative, Lancaster, New Hampshire. Bayo Omayola, barrister, London, England. Elizabeth Roosevelt, educator, Atlanta, Georgia. Kaylin Booth, student, Los Angeles, California. Alan Pittman, consultant, Sicily, Italy. Bishop John Belinda, Kenya, South Africa. Daniel Taylor, entrepreneur, New York. Oysen, a son of man, woman. You are free to find out who we are. Google any of us, fellow citizens, young in the womb and old, 93, richer and poorer, of all races, backgrounds, and persuasions, inspired by the full measure of devotion that Lincoln offered up on behalf of our land. Overview, E pluribus unum, out of many, one, the sacred seal of our land, the United States. What do you seek? Asked the Sphinx. Mine inheritance, responded Fable. From whence dost thou come? Asked the Sphinx. Out of ancient times, responded Fable. Thou art but a child, said the Sphinx, and I will eternally be a child, responded Fable. Who stands for you? Asked the Sphinx. I stand for myself, responded Fable. Novalis. What? We, the people, is a citizens' movement dedicated to reviving the spirit of public service. As such, the movement is accompanying our presidential, federal, state, and local campaigns in the spirit of celebration. The cornerstone of the movement is common sense, and enlightened common sense, that sixth sense, I, for the self, our shared humanity that the people, we, hold in common. What distinguishes the citizens' movement is that instead of getting caught up, bogged down in a swirl of issues, the issues that inevitably distract, divide, and inevitably conquer us, as noted, the movement focuses on that more fundamental underlying issue that would unite us, our common wealth, inheritance as we the people. Therefore, participants, national and international, are co-founders of the movement, which welcomes all people of goodwill. The co-founders share two fundamental convictions. One, with all respect due, the current political system is not working as envisioned by our founding fathers or mothers and most revered public servants. A disunited States we are becoming. Two, we the people can do better. Practical, concrete suggestions abound in terms of how we can improve our political process, transform it into public service. The citizens movement is unfolding as a vessel that offers itself up in service to the harmonizing, melding, and the uniting of the growing cross currents in the cauldron of our nation. New ideas of where we ought to be headed will emerge from individuals, the material out of which we, the people, shall build a world is in us, in our minds, in our character, in our memory of things past, in our hopes for the future. We are the source. We shall conceive it. We shall design it, and we shall put it into operation. John W. Gardner, founder, Common Cause. Why? We, the people, have had enough of politics as usual. In the last election, Trump and Sanders gave voice to the conviction of millions of fellow citizens that the party is over. Partisan politics is not serving our nation as Washington, Franklin, and our founding fathers themselves understood and forewarned us. We, the people, the citizen movement to revive the spirit of public service, recognizes that there are certain concerns that are so fundamental, so existential, so tied up with our very existence that, with few and notable exceptions, we cannot expect the candidates to address them. For such concerns are not in the interest of the candidates who are prospering from the current system. Rather, the concerns are ours, our business. They belong to us. Once we, the people, awaken to this fundamental fact of life, we will recognize that we are the ones we've been waiting for. And we will discover that when the people lead as exemplars of public service, the leaders will follow. Such is the enduring lesson of the civil rights movement and every movement that has brought about substantive and lasting change. Therefore, this is above all the case for the deeper underlying issue of this and every modern campaign. Inwardly, the consideration reveals itself in the issue of sovereignty, our calling as we, the people, the fourth and critical check and balance in our participatory democracy, our democratic republic. Outwardly, the issue manifests itself today, as it has throughout history, in the fact that the sovereign has issued the currency, coin of the realm, and thereby has controlled the lifeblood of the nation, the fate and fortunes of its people. The time is at hand for the people, we, to fix the coin of the new realm. An introduction to such long-awaited issuance is at the conclusion of the September 29, 2020 letter to the presidential candidates on our Bretton Woods website, https://brettonwoods.us/invitation-to-the-candidates. In our day and age, the age of capitalism, capital, the almighty buck, has become supreme. Money not only makes the world go round, but it brings our affairs to a grinding halt. For every fiscal spending issue, that is, health care, jobs, infrastructure, the environment, etc., Indeed, all worldly issues that bear a price tag are money/monetary issues. In, to repeat, an age in which money makes the world go round. The other issues that vie for our attention are, we suggest, secondary. That is, they are symptoms that are tied to the control of the purse strings. That is, to the creation, issuance, and circulation of money, our common wealth, the lifeblood of our nation. When we, the people, have devoted ourselves to taking up this deeper underlying issue of our sovereignty inwardly, the outer control of the coin of the realm, that is, of the spirits and fortunes of the people, will come to pass, and the spell will be lifted. Indeed, the Massachusetts Bay Colony of 1690, which incorporated New Hampshire and southern Maine, became the first non-native government in the Western world to issue paper currency as a public utility to facilitate the exchange of goods and services that was not backed by gold, interest-bearing bonds, or other debt-based contracts or financial instruments. In his Cross of Gold speech, William Jennings Bryan spoke to the heart of the matter. His words are addressed to we, the people. When we have restored the money of the Constitution, all other necessary reforms will be possible. But until this is done, there is no other reform that can be accomplished. How? Toward the formation of its vessel, we, the people, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service, is reaching out to former cabinet members who, one, have run a department, that is, have experience, know what is involved in administering the affairs of our nation, two, have left their administration on the principle, that is, have had enough of politics as usual, and yet three, have not given up on the spirit of public service. Thereto, conversations are arising with proven public service who bear impulses and initiatives such as a Department of Peace. The conversations focus on the fundamental prerequisites for peace, so that peace need not continue to remain an elusive dream, a chimera. A circle of the poor is being formed to work together with the billionaires in order to strike gently the balance between the bottom and top lines. Circles of elders and youth, national and international, given America's central role in the world, are being formed. The former would bless us with the wisdom of the past. The latter remind us of the promise of the future, the generations to come. Finally, recognizing the time-honored tradition of the court fool in administrations of old, as Shakespeare has vividly portrayed, such inspired spirits are called to step in to help us keep our labors honest. Thereto, to repeat, the citizens' movement will not campaign, seeks no funds, no publicity, hold no rallies, or impose a party structure on anyone, nor will we, the people, allow ourselves to be divided and conquered by the issues. That is, to repeat, the people, we, will not allow ourselves to get entangled in politics as usual. Rather, to repeat, our campaign is one of celebration. As such, its focus is a singular one, to revive the spirit of public service. Inspired by Ben Franklin's United Party of Virtue, the veritable movement, candidates are encouraged to assume the mantle of the office that they seek. That is, instead of saying, if I'm elected, I will do A, B, C, and if not, see you later, candidates are urged to do it, walk the talk, to govern by coming up with actual solutions to our pressing problems. If candidates do that in a way that resounds in our age of politics as usual, their voices will be heard. They will become the talk of the town. The party will be over, and the citizens movement will begin. Toward that end, candidates are encouraged to begin by addressing what we spoke of as the deeper underlying issue through those realities that are nearest and dearest, most costly, that bring the issue closest to home: our roads, bridges, school, water, sewage systems, our public works, infrastructure, the very foundation of our nation. Towards this end, the Concord Bretton Woods resolution, noted in the following, provides a common sense platform for getting our house in order. As such, the resolution can be taken up and adapted and adopted by communities across our nation. The point is, we, the people, cannot lose such a celebration, regardless of how the votes fall. For what stands behind the citizens movement is a recognition that not only every candidate, but every fellow citizen can act upon immediately. That is, we live in extraordinary times. These times ask us that we make extraordinary efforts with each and every person we come in contact with, in each and every circumstance of life, in each and every moment of the day. Once this is recognized, our calling as we the people is to become the change we seek, to give it our best. If we can rise to such occasions as an entity, a corporate, incorporated being, we will generate together the force that can avert the impending disasters, the specter that Washington addressed in his farewell address, the foreboding disaster. We, the people, are called to awaken as Americans from and to our dream, our true dream, before that dream becomes indeed the nightmare that many fear. Many are called, few are chosen, and fewer still make the choice. The problems, challenges, opportunities before us are considerable indeed. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens to begin with can change the world for the good. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. By Margaret Mead. When the vision of the citizens movement to revive the spirit of public service was kindled during New Hampshire's first in the nation primary season on January 7th, 2016, in Littleton, New Hampshire, at the conclusion of a county political party meeting. The vision took on life en route back to neighboring Lancaster. Lancaster is the seat of Coos County, one of the poorest counties in the state and nation. Recognizing this fact, a growing number of the citizens in the county are dedicating themselves to fulfilling the vision of the last becoming the first. A minus times a minus equals a plus. -2 times -2 equals +4. The promise of our ever new world. The celebration is formally launched. On Saturday, February 6, 2020, at 3 p.m. at the Old North Bridge at Minuteman National Park in Concord, Massachusetts, where the shot was first heard around the world. On Saturday, February 6, 2020, at 3 p.m. at the Old North Bridge at Minuteman National Park in Concord, Massachusetts, where the shot was fired, heard around the world. At the successful conclusion of the War for Independence, Concord became the first town to call for a Constitutional Convention in order to establish a government of, by, and for the people. On Saturday, February 7th, 2020, at 3 p.m. at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, the site of the establishment of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, on the threshold of New Hampshire's first in the nation primary. There too, as such inspired labors grow, we trust that a showcase will arise in New Hampshire, North Country, a model for regional development that will inspire counties across our land and beyond our shores. The creation of such a model is but one of many examples of how the citizens movement is devoting its energies to actions on behalf of the people, walking the talk, as opposed to merely proclaiming campaign promises. Such extraordinary efforts lie at the heart of our labors. That said, it is clear to us that the vision could not have arisen unless it was already in the air. That is, the heart and minds of a large and growing number of fellow citizens. Since our focus is public service as opposed to politics, we, the people, look forward to a bright and enduring future. The party is over. The movement has begun. Where? The citizens movement is arising wherever two or more fellow citizens gather in the spirit of we, the people, in order to inspire one another to make the extraordinary efforts referred to. If this, we trust, continues to occur, we are confident that the rising platform celebration will include the best thoughts of many fellow citizens and kindred movements, both nationally and internationally, which share our dedication to the revival of the spirit of public service. Co-founders are people of goodwill, representatives of the different ages, races, nationalities, socioeconomic groups, and political persuasions which constitute our land. One and all grow in the recognition that we the people, are the ones we've been waiting for. One and all are committed to the abiding promise of our ever new world, as given voice by Alexis de Tocqueville and the resounding refrain of our national song. America is great because America is good, and if America ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Celebration memo invite, a call to arms, hearts, and minds. Subject, the party is over. The movement has begun. We, the people, the citizens movement to revive the spirit of public service. From Stuart Sinclair Weeks, founder of the Center for American Studies at Concord, Massachusetts, author, columnist, TV and radio host, playwright, and descendant of one of the older military, political, business families in the U.S., going back to William Bradford of the Mayflower, governor of the Plymouth Colony. Since the founding of our nation, members of the Weeks family have served in state or national office, most recently as a state representative, U.S. senators, secretaries of commerce, of war, defense, and as party heads. Alongside Stuart Sinclair's work as a founder, the Center for American Studies at All American Studies, he has worked in and or managed 3 congressional celebrations, 2 gubernatorial celebrations, and 3 presidential celebrations for Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike. Paul Glover, former Green Party presidential candidate, is the first candidate to have begun to work with We the People the citizens movement to revive the spirit of public service. 2, 1, those candidates who are committed to making a difference, a real and lasting difference. 2, those candidates who are committed to public service, as opposed to self-service, politics as usual. 3, those candidates who realize, as Washington noted nearly 3 centuries ago, might we have some catching up to do? That our political system is ailing, to say the least. That is, the system is not even working for the decreasing 1% who find themselves on the same sinking ship planet as the rest of us. Carrying on, this memo invite is addressed to 4, those candidates who are not certain that you will win your election, wishful thinking aside in the flush of your race. 5, those candidates who are discovering that caught up in the race, you are losing your breath, balance, your presence of mind, and in the whirlwind of celebration, travel, handshakes, speeches, interviews, the kissing of the babies. This invite memo is addressed to those who have discovered or are discovering that you are not able to do as much justice as you know is right to your original inspiration to enter the arena. That inspiration being to move beyond politics as usual in order to make a real and abiding difference. Number 6, those candidates who would welcome the opportunity to devote yourself to a celebration in which you cannot possibly lose, as long as you don't allow yourselves to get distracted by the polls, numbers, surveys, politics as usual, as long as you are willing to give it your best, your very best. We refer to those candidates who are both able and willing to think outside of the box, our ailing political system. Finally, this invite memo is addressed to those candidates who recognize, as our first president and the father of our nation suggests, that the party is over. Independent voters all but outnumbered Republicans and Democrats together. 9, and to those candidates who, on the basis of this recognition, are open to considering the possibility of taking up not only Washington's vision of public service, but the great and extensive project of Ben Franklin, one of our most beloved and accomplished public servants. One and all are invited to become an integral part of we, the people, the citizens movement to revive the spirit of public service. Simply expressed, this celebration memo invite is a call to arms, hearts, and minds. As such, it offers aspiring candidates, one and all, the opportunity to learn the lessons of those public servants who have gone before you, and thus to become part of the long-awaited solution, as opposed to part and parcel of the ongoing problem, politics as usual. As Gandhi notes, the means are the ends in process. That is, each and every step we take along the way, the campaign celebration trail, determines whether we reach the destination that we envision or not. The steps to become part of the solution, the fulfillment of old Ben's great and extended project follow. That said, please note that the steps have not been set in stone. Rather, they invite in turn your best thoughts, the best thoughts of we, the people. We trust this point is clear. A citizens movement is. Steps towards the inauguration of we, the people. The citizen movement to revive the spirit of public service. We, the people, must become the change that we seek. Mahatma Gandhi, the man, in General George MacArthur's words, who took on the mightiest empire in the world and won without firing a shot. We invite those who seek office to consider simply that, to consider the following steps as a placeholder, and bearer of the banner for we, the people. Step 1, announce the people's campaign victory celebration. Victory celebration has elaborated in the following. The people's victory is assured with the taking of your first step. That step is your outspoken resolve to contribute to the revival of the spirit of public service. That victory asks to be celebrated at the outset of the campaign in order to set the tone. The pace will lift the spirits of our fellow citizens. If the right tone pace can be set in New Hampshire with its first in the nation primary and in Iowa with its first caucus, that tone can resound across our land. That pace will lift the steps and spirit of the people, we. Towards such an end, make clear the intention of your celebration as a public servant with an open letter to the editor in the papers in the town, district, or state in which you are introducing the people's celebration. Written with respect and goodwill, the letter will be addressed not only to your fellow citizens, it will be addressed to the political establishment, party bosses, to the worldly powers that be. Before the letter is submitted, invite a number of your own best critics to review it. Note, the letter will ensure, at the very least, that political powers, your seeming opponents, understand the all-American purpose of your campaign. Specifically, they will understand that it need not be a threat to them. Rather, inspired by our first president and father of our nation, George Washington, by Ben Franklin, and by our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, your celebration bodes well for our land, heralds, as noted, the revival of the spirit of public service. Specifically, the powers that be will recognize that your celebration, we the people, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service, represents the inevitable solution to our nation's misfortunes, that solution which, in their best moments, the powers themselves have been seeking. That is, the open letter would speak about how your celebration embodies a future worth envisioning for our children, grandchildren, and for the generations to come, all our relations. That future is summed up in the issue, the deeper underlying issue, that amidst the issues, the legion of issues that otherwise divide and conquer us, would unite us, the people, we. As such, this vision of unity, a truly United States, should, we suggest, be the central point of your open letter. The Concord Bretton Woods Resolution, see I-3 under Reform of the Private Financial System. The resolution spells out how the aspiration spoken of is fulfilled. That is, as we the people assume our sovereignty within, this assumption leads, as noted, to our sovereignty without, liberty and justice for all, sister and brotherhood from sea to shining sea. The open letter would conclude by your inviting 1, your opponents, 2, former candidates, and 3, the people themselves, to take to heart Washington's opening warning and thereby to join you in taking up the banner of we the people, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service. Prominent in the letter would be the date, time, and location of the people's victory celebration. All fellow citizens are invited not only to attend, but to contribute to and help fashion and stage such a celebration, long overdue. We trust that Washington, Franklin, Lincoln, and other kindred spirits will join us in such a festive gathering. The victory celebration will be held in city and town centers, halls, or parks throughout your state, your district or state. It will include a community forum that will introduce the issue The Concord Bretton Woods resolution, adapted and adopted by each interested community in the district, state, and nation. Following the community forums, the victory celebration will continue with food, song, dance, drama, activities of health and well-being, festivities galore offered by the rich and diverse spectrum, tapestry, and fabric of our fellow citizens. Every ethnic group in every community is encouraged to contribute their cultural riches to the festivities, to the people's victory celebration, as a testament to what unites us as a nation, our commonwealth, human inheritance. We, the people, encourage you not only to put the celebration on your calendar, but to consider the riches that you yourselves have to bring to it. May the celebration lift all our spirits, the spirits of the people, we. The victory celebration acknowledges the fact that the party is over. The citizens' movement has begun. That is, we, the people, offer a seasoned, all-American alternative to politics as usual. That alternative is inspired by Washington's, Franklin's, and Lincoln's lives and labors, as well as by many an unsung public servant. The citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service. The open letter should also introduce the community celebrations, the vehicle for bringing your celebration to the communities via a link to your website with the dates, times, and locations of the events. Step 2, convene community celebrations. Consider the following name for the community celebrations and the further step that are outlined, if they make sense to you. That is, you are the one who is stepping forward. Community celebrations. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. The party is over. The movement has begun. The citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service. Alongside the unsung heroes, the community celebrations will feature nationally and internationally known celebrities in the best sense of the word, such as Dr. Patch Adams, descendant of John and John Quincy Adams, celebrities who have grasped Franklin's vision of a united party, movement of virtue. The aspiration of such a citizens' movement that would revive the spirit of public service is embodied in the revelation of we the people. Such a spirit arises when two or more are gathered in the recognition of that whole, invoked by the sacred seal of our land, that is greater than the sum of its individual parts, the people, we. For this to occur, listening is essential. Representatives represent. Governors govern, rightly understood. Presidents preside. Thus it was with he who would become our first president, George Washington, at the convention in Philadelphia that, in the summer of 1787, began the process of the constituting of our nation. In The Miracle of Philadelphia, Catherine Drinker Bowen goes on describing what 5 decades later, Martin Van Buren, President of the United States, spoke of as that heroic and lawless act, the Constitutional Convention. The spirit behind it, the convention, was a spirit of compromise, seemingly no very noble flag to rally around. Compromise can be an ugly word, signifying a pact with the devil, a chipping off of the best to suit the worst. Yet, Bowen goes on to suggest, in acknowledgement of the infallible human natures that had gathered, in the Constitutional Convention, the spirit of compromise reigned in grace and glory. As Washington presided, it sat on his shoulder like a dove. For nearly 5 months, Washington, the president of the convention, presided. That is, the father of our nation sat silently and listened to the will of the people as it was given voice through their delegates. Solemnly, he attended to their concerns, witnessed the unfolding drama. Only on the final day, when the deed was done, did Washington speak. The dove lifted its wings. May those not only walking for president as placeholders and standard bearers, but may all fellow citizens who would assume the mantle of an office take to heart the precedent that Washington set. That is not to merely hold forth, but listen into, and thereby call forth the best thoughts, the genius of the people, we. Toward that end, the community celebrations will, to review, lay to rest and pay our last respects to politics as usual, controlled by big money, the almighty buck. The baneful and divisive effects of the spirits of party are over, all but over. As noted, independent voters all but outnumber Democrats and Republicans together. Two, community celebrations will announce our victory, the victory of Ben Franklin's great citizen project, the inauguration of We the People, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service. The victories in the doing, staying true to our calling to public service. All the community celebrations, the announcement is made, words to the effect that on behalf of We the People, I, the candidate, am assuming the mantle of the office that the people, we, are campaigning for, celebrating together. On behalf of We the People, I, the candidate, will not call it quits with the final call, count, the reckoning, whatever it may be. Rather, I will continue to assume the mantle. For the party draws to its end, the movement has begun. Specifically, you will not hear me say, if I am elected, I will do A, B, and C. And if not, so much for my promises, impassioned speeches, for all the time, money, blood, sweat, and tears you've invested in my race. I'm finished, out of your gauntlet. Rather, I will walk my talk. That is, I am committed to We the People, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service, addressing not just the legion of the issues that, as noted, divide and conquer us, but I will address the issues in light of the deeper underlying issue that can unite us if approached at long last from a common sense, enlightened common sense perspective. By common sense, I refer to the revelation of that inalienable sixth sense, that of our shared brotherhood, I, that is common to us all, to we, the people. Further, at the community celebrations, it will be stated that on behalf of We the People, I am introducing blank resolution, the name of each town in the district or state. The blank resolution adapts and adopts the Concord Bretton Woods resolution, which addresses the central issue of our fortunes, inheritance, in both their inner and outer aspects. The issue is grounded in our sovereignty as we, the people. Such sovereignty has always been and remains the basis for issuing the coin of the realm, assuring access to our common wealth, lifeblood, so that the people, we, are not obliged to work solely for our boss's dream, while ours becomes a nightmare, so that we, the people, can aspire to our own dreams. On behalf of We the People, I'm inviting you, my supposed opponents, to join me in taking the pledge, that is, to affirm our commitment to the spirit of public service. I invite you to join me in assuming the mantle of that office, which we together seek, regardless of the final count. The final details of office to be readily worked out in their due time. I invite my supposed opponents to join We the People, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service. On behalf of We the People, I, the candidate, announce that I am running a grassroots volunteer celebration, a celebration of, by, and for the people. That is, I am seeking no contributions. nor will I turn down any that are offered with no strings attached, offered out of the goodwill of the people. For if on behalf of we the people, I succeed in addressing the deeper underlying issue from the enlightened common sense perspective, the resolution of the issues will reveal itself clearly, and the people's, my celebration, will be newsworthy. That is, we will get coverage more than money itself can buy, and thus need not cozy up to big donors in order to finance what has become the major campaign celebration expense. Media, advertising, publicity. Instead, of significant means will be provided with the opportunity to join the movement, affirm their own commitment to our greater commonwealth on behalf of their children and the generations to come. The top line is, in order to be taken seriously by the people, I understand that I and my fellow candidates have to become truly independent, beginning with becoming independent from big money, almighty buck. In particular, and on behalf of we the people, I invite you, former candidates who came to the conclusion, where we were under the illusion that you lost your race and thus had to bow out due to the casting of votes, to slow down long enough for your best thoughts to catch up to you, to gather your wits, come to your senses, our common shared sense. I invite you, former candidates who aspire to be public servants, to join we the people, to step back, not so much into the race, the perpetual run for office, but to step forward on the walk, the citizens' movement to revive the spirit of public service. Step 3, proceed as noted in the foregoing. That is, slow down so that your best thoughts, wits themselves can, as expressed, catch up to you. Assume the mantle of the office that you seek, walk the talk, address the issue, and thereby the host of issues, and celebrate the step you've taken to help make history, to fashion that future worth envisioning for our children, grandchildren, and for the generations to come, all our relations. If we, the people, should indeed prove an entity, a corporate being, imagine what power that incorporation might one day represent. Catherine Drinker Bowen, The Miracle of Philadelphia. The time is at hand. Footnotes: governors govern, that is, governors serve, are public servants who safeguard the people's inalienable rights, those rights that were endowed by our creative. Presidents preside. The following passage, Heart to Heart, draws from the open letter to Oisin, Lucian Sinclair, and Anthony Fauci, speaks to the matter of presiding. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Preamble to the U.S. Constitution. I have left the foregoing voices resound for a reason. Oisin and Anthony, for a reason, friends. As noted, I sought to compete a candidate for president in the last election, a fellow citizen who has exemplified the spirit of public service. That candidate and I were granted a number of conversations, heart to heart, on that celebration trail. Those exchanges reached their fulfillment during the Q&A session at the conclusion of the candidates' rally in Nashua, New Hampshire's library. Since no one stepped up to the microphone at the start of the Q&A, I paused and did so, while forward to the candidates and my thread. I have some words to convey to you from your sister, Catherine Drinker Bowen, author of The Miracle of Philadelphia, the blessed story of the constituting of our nation. Our gazes met, all of 2 to 3 feet apart. Heart to heart, I continue. Catherine wrote, if we the people should ever become an entity, a corporate being, imagine what power a corporation might one day represent. The words quietly resounded. The candidate nodded her head. I went on. Representatives represent, governors govern, presidents preside. Indeed, that is exactly what George Washington did on behalf of the searcher of hearts during that constitutional convention for 5 timeless months from the 25th of May, 1787 to the 17th of December. Spring blossoming into summer, offering the people's deepest hopes and aspirations. Our imperfections, such as they were, are, ever will be, as mortals mere. Those offerings were received and became the golden raiment that was bequeathed to the autumn season, humanity's long-awaited harvest, with the first fruits, the inspired draft of our United States Constitution, born on the words of its founders. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, many a member of the convention understood well not only what was at stake, but they were no less aware of the deep devotion, the blood, sweat, and tears that had brought them thus far through the trials and tribulations of an American Revolution, War of Independence. We mutually pledged to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. With the dove perched on his shoulder, Washington presided through the passage of the seasons, listening deeply to those who had convened, hearkening to what stirred in the hearts and souls of the delegates to the convention, bearing witness to the people, we. This sister took in the words. If, I went on, there is a candidate who, like Washington, our first president and father of our nation, who is a public servant of the people, a candidate who can resist stepping up to the platform to hold forth on the legion of issues that continue to divide and would conquer us, the U.S., ignoring thereby the deeper underlying issue that waits to unite us. If there is a candidate who, embodying the spirit of we the people, can listen to that very people, I believe that candidate blank is you. I gazed deeply into her eyes, then turned, and leaving my final words hanging in the air, departed, returned to my seat. As I did so, dear Oyson, out, nowhere, everywhere, an applause broke over the large open room. That is, those gathered, that corporate being, was moved to confirm the words that resounded through me, myself, the words I was given to share with the candidate. Imagine what power that incorporation might one day represent. Can we, Anthony? Will we, the people, imagine such a promise while we still can? It was the best of times and the worst of times. The worst of times and the very best timing.